All right, guys, this is Kirk with DFS Bros. With Nick, we're going to go ahead and break down our week 4 picks. It's looking like a really good week, and he's going to go ahead and give us a recap on how we did last week.
All right, so our weekly recap for quarterback, we both picked Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray. Russell Wilson cooked. Kyler Murray did great. It hindered him with 3 interceptions. Even if he didn't those 3 interceptions, he would have ended the week as the quarterback 5. The 3 interceptions was the difference of possibly cashing out and not cashing out, but still quarterback 5 on the week. Miles Sanders, he had a great game. He had a lot of touches, over 20 touches between receptions and carries. Just didn't find the end zone. If he found the end zone, it would have been a completely different game. If he got 2 more rushing yards, he would have got the 100-yard bonus. So he was just 1 or 2 carries away from being one of the elite running backs on the week. Derrick Henry 8 in a great bounce back game, which many of us were expecting him to do. Wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins had 26 points. Wide receiver 7 on the week. He ate as he always does. My play, Curtis Samuel, didn't do too hot. Mike Davis got a lot more work as a running back than I thought it. Tight end, Noah Fant and Logan Thomas were both middle of the pack tight end. I was doing some research. Tight ends 7 through 15, they're all within 1 point or half a point of each other. If Noah Fant caught 1 catch for 10 yards, he would have jumped from the tight end 12 to the tight end 6 on the week. Defense, Titans were defense number 10. Giants were defense number 24. That's okay. It happens. We move on to week 4. We learn. We get better. We give you guys good advice. All right, Kirk, lead us into your quarterback pick.
All right, so I said this in one of our videos, kind of going on season-long fantasy. A guy that I really, really liked going into the year, if you could just kind of get past the first game or two, Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's got a great schedule going forward, and I love this week's matchup. This week versus Seattle. Seattle's literally the worst pass defense right now. They've kind of adopted what Tampa Bay was doing last year, where they just allowed anything and everything through the air, but would not let you do anything on the ground. Right now, they're allowing 43 rush yards per game and have only allowed 2 rushing touchdowns in the first 3 weeks. But on the passing side, they've allowed 439 yards per game, over 2 touchdowns to the quarterback per game. They're just allowing so many points. And this week, we're actually going to see them banged up. A lot of their key players. Shaq Harrison, he's hurt. Quentin Dunbar's out. Jamal Adams is out. Jordan Brooks is out. They also have another cornerback and a backup safety out as well. So those are key people in the secondary that is just going to really, really hurt this team and just give Fitzpatrick a lot to do. I do believe that they will be down. So it's just going to be more passing for Fitzpatrick. I see him passing 40 times, possibly 50. Random thing I found out during this week is that Fitzpatrick, the games where he's exploded and like he's been on the Million Maker a couple of times. Mm-hmm. His top 7 performances, the team he's playing against scores over 30. It's actually averages out to be 31 points, and Seattle's projected 31 points by Vegas this week. So everything, the stars are aligning. Fitzpatrick over the last 2 games scored 27-25. Over the last 9 games, dating back to last year, 25, 30, 15, 21, 35, 27, 8, 27, 25. A lot of 20s, a 30 in there. And this is a quarterback there you're getting as one of the lowest priced QBs that are starting. 5,400. Love him at home. Just give me as much Fitzpatrick. Probably going to have him in 100%, which is crazy. But I love the matchup this week.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is perfect. Immediately when I saw the Seahawks were playing the Dolphins, I went to go see what his price was. I kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and I saw it all the way at 5,400. He's down there with the backup quarterbacks. It's insane. He should eat this week.
Tua has an illness this week. That's one thing that I've always kind of worried about this year is that the one game you probably do go all in on him, all of a sudden they're down 20 points, Tua comes in. I don't believe Tua will be ready. He hasn't been practicing yet. So there goes one other thing. Fitzpatrick should play all 4 quarters against this secondary at home to make it kind of a more level playing field. I mean, Fitzpatrick is just a smash play.
Give me some Fitz magic, man. All right. My quarterback, I left this as a surprise for Kirk. I wanted to see his reaction when recording. It's cheap quarterback week, Kirk. Baker Mayfield.
No. With his 20 passes a game?
Yeah, the last few weeks, I've given high-priced quarterbacks. So this week, I'm picking a quarterback at the bottom of the bin. He is in the game with the highest projected Vegas total for the slate. Cleveland should be down. Many people will be on Dak Prescott in this game. So I take a chance on the other side. Cowboys should get up early and pound the ball with Zeke. Leaves Baker and company to come back. Stack him with Kareem Hunt and Jarvis Landry and run it back with Zeke Elliott to get an edge in tournaments. I love
Whatever he said, do not do. Do not start Baker. Baker, my rebuttal to that is averaging 180 pass yards per game. I mean, it's just an awful play. And that stack to smash and win, you cannot afford Kamara.
They can.
You won't be able to afford Zeke in there with Hunt, with Kamara.
Yeah, you can with Jarvis Landry and Baker Mayfield.
God. Don't do your lineup, guys.
I make about 20 lineups a weekend. I'd say he's gonna be my quarterback in about 5 of them.
Yeah, Nick's more of our tournament guy. I'm more conservative.
25% is he's gonna be my lineups. Hey, don't knock it, man. You gotta get crazy sometimes. You gotta get weird. That's how you win these things, man. I'm tired of playing safe. No kidding. Now, after I blew Kirk's head up, he had been guessing all day who my quarterback was, and I'm surprised he didn't guess him. But yeah, Baker Mayfield, highest total on the slate. He should be down. He's going to pass the ball a lot. Jarvis Landry and Kareem Hunt are both safe options for targets. You get a lot of passing work that could stack with him and run it back with Zeke. Kirk, want to get into your running back?
I just mentioned his name. I must own Kamara. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Michael Thomas is out. You're going to get wide receiver 1 value plus running back 1 value, all rolled up in one player, just like McCaffrey. McCaffrey always was 10,000 or more last year. If you want to think back even further of the days that David Johnson in his elite prime when he was 9,000, we're getting this type of production level.
Of Bell in 2016.
Oh my God, yeah. We're getting that production even greater, and we're getting it for 8,000.
Mm-hmm.
He was 8,200 last week, and he scored 49. He was 8,200 again the week before, and he scored 38. And now they drop him down to 8,000. It's insane. They just knew Michael Thomas was going to be back. It's a clear screw-up. They are playing Detroit. Detroit was destroyed last year after Snacks Harrison left the team, and they've continued to get destroyed this year. They're going to be in perfect game conditions. They're going to be in a dome. He had 14 targets last week. It's just an insane option, and I think that it's actually going to be a close game. So Kamara is going to have to be heavily involved because the Saints' defense is all banged up. So we're not going to see a blowout and then the backups come in. They're going to have to keep Kamara on the field as much as he can handle.
Yeah, with Michael Thomas being out, even if Michael Thomas was in, Alvin Kamara would be a lock for me. Players coming back from high ankle sprains is not pretty for the first few weeks they're back because of high ankle sprain. They can't practice as well as they want to because they're hindered from it.
Do not make a lineup without Kamara in it. Detroit just does not have the defensive options to cover it.
Yeah, it's Alvin Kamara is the lock of the century. This is like the one time of year where like one player this year more than likely do not build a lineup without. That's why we're giving cheap quarterbacks this week, is because we know you need to pay up for Alvin Kamara as well as Zeke Elliott and other guys. So Kamara is a must lock this week. You got any more on your boy?
Nah, just make sure he's in your lineup.
Yeah, I agree with that. So my running back is Kenyan Drake. He's been good as far as real football is concerned, but fantasy football, he has not been what we wanted to start the season. I loved him last week, and I loved him for season long. And I started him in a lot of my lineups last week, but he disappointed. I think after the first 3 weeks, he is going to get right this game because it's against the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers' run defense is just abysmal. It's so bad.
It's one of the worst we've ever seen.
Yeah, 100%. It might be worse than last year's Panthers run defense, which was also one of the worst we've ever seen. This is a defense we're going to be attacking a lot this year as far as running backs. Week 1, I had Josh Jacobs. Week 4, Kenyan Drake. They're just young and inexperienced. By the end of the year, they might be better, but it's still early in the season. They're still kids almost to most of us. They're still learning. Kirk, you got anything on Kenyan Drake before you get into your wide receiver?
Yeah, Hopkins banged up. I don't see his 18-plus targets this week.
Mm-hmm.
Christian Kirk banged up. Isabella isn't that type of receiver to come out and get 10 receptions. They don't really have a tight end. Murray just threw 3 interceptions. They're going to I think they're just going to really heavily lean on this run game because it's going to be so easy. And I know you said Jacobs smashed week 1. He scored 36 points. He was RB1. Week 2, they went up against Tampa Bay. And Leonard Fournette, the backup at the time, Leonard Fournette, finishes RB3 with 28 points.
Not just that, Ronald Jones started off great that game until he fumbled the ball. And I think he even had double-digit fantasy points.
And then last week, I know everybody was worried about Joshua Kelly, but he still had over 5 yards a carry. And
Austin Eckler.
And Austin Eckler. That was the big thing. 31 points, just elite level. You're looking at week 1, they went up against the running back 1. Week 2, they went up against the running back 3. Week 3, they went up against the running back 3 of Austin Eckler. This team doesn't know how to defend the run. They're too young, they're too inexperienced, and they're just a team that's just trying to shoot and gun as much as they can. They have offensive weapons when healthy. Drake is a great play. I don't know about 100%, but he's going to be in a whole lot of my lineups.
Yeah, I'm trying to fit in Ezekiel Elliott, Drake, and Kamara as many lineups as I can. Yeah. Most of them is going to be Kamara, and then which of the other 2 I can. I'll probably start with Kamara and Zeke, and if I can't fit anything I like in that, I'll drop from Zeke to Kenyan Drake. That's how I'll probably start my lineups. Kirk, you want to get on your wide receiver?
Yeah. So I'm doing a little stacking this week along with Fitzmagic, my boy. I'm going to go with Devante Parker, Nick's guy. Nick's been talking to me about him for like 5-6 years, telling me how great he is. Finally, he did break out last year.
It took forever.
No one saw it coming. But, it's an awful secondary. We've already talked about everyone that's hurt. Shaq Harrison's supposed to play, so he probably will start, but he's really hurt. He's really banged up. Parker's finally getting healthy. He started off with an awful schedule against the Patriots, the Bills, and he got to play the Jags. And he's still averaging about like 13, 14 DK points in that time frame, and he's only 5,700. So if he gives you an average game of like 15 points, it's definitely not killing you. It's almost 3x. But this is a wide receiver that we could see with 7 catches, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. Last year, he was the number 2 wide receiver, only behind Michael Thomas after week 11. It's just what Fitzpatrick does. It's that Jameis Winston effect. You just throw the ball so much and you throw deep. You have all those air yards. And he's a tall wide receiver, super athletic. I think this is his get-right spot, and we're going to see him healthy pushing through the rest of the season until they make the QB change. If you get him in season long, buy him now. A random stat that I found out I did not know about Seattle. Seattle is awful against tall receivers. Any receiver 6'1" or higher, they've allowed 1.5 DK points more. So if they average against their wide receiver 10 points, they're actually allowing 15 points to that wide receiver typically if he's taller.
That's a crazy stat.
Yeah, they just there's been teams that do that can't guard tall receivers. The Packers used to be pretty bad at it. We always got destroyed by Megatron, then Galladay. Then we started drafting tall cornerbacks to kind of match up with that. So I don't know about the wider their cornerbacks and their size and all, but it's just something that they cannot defend.
Yeah. There's another thing is Seattle's really bad against the slot. This guy that the name I'm about to say. He's not my receiver, but he's another receiver for the Dolphins, Preston Williams, that I could also see having a good day today. In my lineups, I'm trying to get Devante Parker and Gesicki, or Preston Williams and Gesicki, which you'll hear me talk about Gesicki later today. I'm trying to get two Miami pass catchers in my lineups at all times. And I love Devante Parker this week. You want me to go ahead and go into my wide receiver?
Yeah.
So DJ Moore at 5,600. Going back to the Panthers receiving core for the second week in a row. This Panthers Cardinals game is one of the top 5 over-unders for this week. This is the first time in a long time we've had like maybe 5 or 6 games over 50 total points. That's insane how many games are over 50 this week. There's going to be a lot of scoring, or there's going to be a lot of no scoring. He's dropped in price tremendously over the first 4 weeks of the season. But yet he's receiving a healthy 26% target share on his team. The only problem is he hasn't had any touchdowns. Last week he didn't have a great game. I think this week it's a get right. I think he gets a touchdown this week. Many people will be flocking towards Robbie Anderson as he's only $200 less than DJ Moore. But I think this is the DJ Moore game for sure. I think he gets in the end zone. A lot of casual players will be more on Robbie Anderson because of that. So just get me with DJ Moore this week. Just 5,600 for a team's like wide receiver 1 is crazy to me.
Yeah, I love DJ Moore this week. He's going to be extremely popular, but given the air yards, the pace of play that they're going to be in, these are 2 extremely fast games. Mm-hmm. And DJ Moore is actually going to be lining up opposite side of Patrick Peterson. Yeah. So Curtis Samuel is going to garner a lot of that coverage along with Robbie Anderson, and you're going to see DJ Moore lined up against
Kirkpatrick.
Kirkpatrick, yeah.
Something like that.
It's Fitzpatrick in my head. Yeah. Kirkpatrick, he's going to be lined up against him. And right now he's just having a very rough year. He's having a lot of issues with penalties, and I just see this being Moore's get right spot as well. Probably going to score and go over 100 yards. The targets are going to be there. The receptions are going to be there this time. It's just a great spot and a extremely great price at 5,600.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I know we've picked a lot of players against Carolina or for Carolina the first few weeks. We've both lived in North Carolina for a while, but I promise we have no bias for them or against them.
Yeah, we're looking at an awful defense, and then we're looking at a team that wants to play extremely fast. And right now with McCaffrey, they're trying to find that identity. McCaffrey had probably like 30 or 40% of their usage, and now it has to be dispersed somewhere.
Yeah, oh my goodness. All right, Kirk, tell me about your tight end.
All right, so it's going to be a little bit chalky. Everyone's going to him, but my main reason I'm going to is I'm afraid not to. I've never been a Darren Waller guy. I know Nick's real big on him, but at only 5,200 at home with Henry Ruggs out, Brian Edwards doubtful. This team doesn't have that many receiving options. Hunter Renfrow, they're going up against the Bills, so we did see Gesicki just completely torch. Gesicki had 8 receptions, 130, 40 yards,
and 2 tutties,
2 touchdowns. I don't think it's going to be that type of game for Waller, but Waller has shown that he has that 30-point upside, that 20-some point upside. And when you're building your lineups and you go Hawkinson and he drops you 11, and Darren Waller, who's going to be extremely, extremely chalky, especially in cash games, drops 26, it's going to be almost impossible to cash out unless you hit everywhere else. I'm just kind of going along with everyone else. I'm afraid to pass up on this price. Waller should probably stick around 6K throughout the whole year just because of his points per receptions. So, yeah, it's more of a fear pick, but, yeah, I'm a believer this week.
Yeah, it's just like the Monday night game a few weeks ago with Raiders versus Saints. He had 15 receptions. He's a guy who can get you 30 points with just receptions and yards. Doesn't even need a touchdown. He did it multiple times last year where he had double-digit receptions and 100 yards no touchdowns, and just like smash. I love Darren Waller. Last year, I picked him up literally 1 minute after Antonio Brown was cut by the Raiders. I got that notification. I went and immediately picked him up. And then I dropped Mark Andrews for him, but which is bad, because this guy right here picked him up. But at the same time, I still got a tight end number 3 or 4. I think what we see this week is what we're going to see from what we've seen from Waller all of last year. I think he will do very well this week. My tight end is Mike Gesicki, 5,100. They will need to get him involved for the Dolphins to have any chance of winning this game. Fantastic pass catcher, best pass catcher on the Dolphins. This is a game where I want a little bit of everybody. If I'm building lineups and I can't fit in some of the other guys, and I see it's like, oh, Seattle guy, Dolphins guy, I think I could fit someone around some prices in. But my main targets for the Dolphins are Gesicki and, like Kirk said, Devante Parker. Lock in Gesicki, lock in Waller, and have a good day for tight end. Kirk, you got your defense ready?
Yeah, just one more thing on Gesicki. Like you said, this team's going to score. It's going to be a shootout. He's lining up in the slot, not just against the line in the tight end spot. He's actually lining up in the slot a lot this year, about 75% of the time.
Something like that.
And right now, Seattle is the worst against slot receivers. Granted, they're going to be out a safety, a linebacker, and probably a corner or two. So they're probably going to be even worse than that. But yeah, right now, just attack as much Seattle as you can.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's going to be crazy. This game is going to be crazy to watch tomorrow. So Kirk, where's your defense, man?
All right, so defense, I had a couple going. Didn't know whether to go cheap. Really didn't like anything cheap. There was a couple in the mid levels with like the Bucks. Then we had up top the Rams and the Ravens, and I just really, really love this Ravens D. Love them in season long. That try to pick them up anywhere I can, but right now just in a great spot. I do not like the fact that they're coming off of a Monday night game, but I do like the fact they're coming off of a loss, a really bad loss. This is a team that runs off just pure momentum once they get going. I mean, it's impossible to stop them. We've seen Lamar have 40-point games all the time. I see this team just getting in a route, dropping 40 on the Washington football team. Washington's going to have to try to answer with a banged-up McLaurin, and they're going to become one-dimensional. They're not going to be able to try to control the pace of the game, and they're just going to have to drop back and pass. And against this Ravens defense and their secondary, they're going to eat them alive. I don't think that they're going to pull Haskins, even though that he's that bad. And if that's the case, that's even better. Haskins is going to make turnovers. He's going to throw picks, probably have a fumble. This team is going to have a chance to score touchdowns, get sacks. It's going to be a feast. It's impossible to project defenses, but this team, with just coming off that loss and just an amazing spot against Washington, I just don't see how Washington survives this game at all.
Yeah, I think I read or saw somewhere that in the first 3 weeks of the season, there's been 25 teams that have had their defense score in the top 12 in that week. I know that's more of a season-long statistic to prove that you can stream defense, but also helps with DFS talk about how defense is so unpredictable at weeks. I will say this before I say my defense. I think it's pretty funny that the defenses that we both picked were also our survivor picks. With that said, it's the Rams for my defense. We post our survivor pick video before we post this one, so you know my feelings on the Rams this week. They should be up big on the Giants. Great matchup against a terrible offense. Jalen Ramsey is going to feast because he's going to be covering a terrible wide receiver. Don't get me wrong, Golden Tate and Darius Slayton are both great receivers, but they can only be as good as their quarterback lets them. And Daniel Jones isn't going to be that great this week. Aaron Donald should eat against a hurt offensive line. We gave a lot of cheap options this week, but paying up at defense this week, if you can fit it in, I would do it. After, I'd say the top 3 or 4 defenses, there's not many that I would want to attack. I know we've been talking up a lot of Dolphins players, but in case Fitzpatrick does pull up a dud, Seattle defense is a good punt play in tournaments if you're doing 150 lineups, just in case. But other than Rams, Ravens, and just a few other up top,
Tampa Bay looks pretty good.
yeah.
But yeah, just go ahead and pay for it. You have the value at wide receiver.
Mhm.
You got the value at quarterback. Just make sure to have a good defense that's going to score you 10 plus points and could drop that 20 point that's going to win the week.
Yeah, I agree. Colts defense were a great play last week. I almost picked them as my defense, but for some reason I decided against it, and they had 26 points. And I tried to fit them as many as I could last week. I think it just gave too many high-priced people I needed to give. No, that's not true. I had the Titans. They're a pretty high-priced defense as well. I don't know. I wanted to do the Colts. I just felt like they were too high, but they paid it off. They came back. Kirk, you got any closing words for week 4?
No, just make sure that you have at least 2 Miami players in your lineup. I do like game stacks. Seattle, you're kind of paying for it, but what they've turned out is 3x value, 4x value. So it's not like you're losing a chance to have that upper ceiling game. If I had to decide this week between Lockett and Metcalf, I'm kind of leaning Metcalf.
Oh, come on, I was leaning Lockett.
Yeah, I was a big Lockett guy last week. It paid off.
Mhm.
I just see Metcalf having a good bounce back game, and of Lockett's 3 big games last year, he followed them with duds. I do not believe that this is going to be a dud. Miami's secondary is awful, but
Yeah,
I just think Metcalf is going to come out and want to kind of show everybody how great he is after that mistake. Kind of put that mistake behind him, but make sure you get 2 Miami players. They're just too cheap. Running back, 5,000. Quarterback, 5,400. Wide receiver 1, 5,700. Wide receiver 2, 4,500. I mean, these are just insane prices in a game with a team where the team implied total is 25.
yeah, all great points. Tyler Lockett's going against one of the worst slot corners in the NFL, as well as his counterpart on the other side, Mike Gesicki. So real quick before we end it off, we had Baker Mayfield, Kenyan Drake, DJ Moore, Mike Gesicki, Rams for me, and Kirk, you had
Fitzpatrick, Kamara, Devante Parker, Waller, and Ravens D.
Sounds good. I hope you guys have a great one. Let's get some money this week, man.